back to Like-Minded Arts. I'm Brant Lindstrom, and today we are going to be talking about the finances of self-publishing your book. Now, if you didn't catch my last episode, you'll want to check that out because I'm going to be drawing on some of that for this episode. Now, in that one, we talked about how if you are writing, you are probably going to be doing, in a theoretical sense, we're going to be spending about $33,000 a year and probably getting 2 books published. And also, if you are publishing the way I'm publishing and you are trying to be competitive in your pricing, you're probably going to only be making about $1.75 to $2 per book. And remember, all these costs and expenses, they can be completely different for you. I'm just using a 100-word book as an example, and I am making a few assumptions, obviously, but for this case, we're going to say we have a $175 book, and I am comfortable spending half of that on marketing and the other half contributing to my expenses and hopefully, once I break even, my overall profit. Now, half of 175 is going to be 87 cents. That means that for every book I sell, I can spend up to 87 cents in marketing. I hope I can get it lower than that for each book sold, but that is the target that I want to reach. I don't want to go above that. I definitely don't want to go above $1.75 per book sold. But for now, let's find out how we can spend 87 cents and get back $1.75. Now, there are 3 ways that you can market your book, at least 3 ways that I want to talk about. The first one is one I do not recommend at all, and that is for you to print off a whole bunch of copies and then sell it to your family and friends. Now, this may sound good because, 1, you're going to get higher margins on each book sold. It might also make sense because you think that you've got a lot of family and friends. But what happens once you've sold 100 to maybe 200 copies of your book? You don't have anyone else to sell it to anymore. And another problem with that is that the algorithms from all the different distributors, they don't know that you sold that many books. And so they're going to think that your book is a stinker. They're not going to push it on anyone. So that is why I feel like this first option is a big fat no. Plus, you're going to probably annoy your family if every time you publish a book, you're telling all of them that they have to buy it. That just gets old after a while. Plus, it's a lot of work to do that, and you end up becoming a salesman instead of a writer. All right, so let's move on to option number 2. This is actually a pretty good option, however, not for your first book or 2. That's because you really need to know what you're doing if you do this option. And this option is that you set a target goal. Yeah, you say, well, I want to sell this many books, and my budget for this is so much dollars. And so you go out and you just blow all that on marketing right away and pray that you get the number of book sales that you think you should get. The reason why this could be good is if you've already gone through your marketing on a few past books and you know what you're doing and your next books are fairly similar, then you should be able to have a fairly predictable rate of return based on your ad spend. However, if you do not have that experience yet, you might blow all of your marketing budget on a pumpkin. You don't know. So that is why I say do not start out with this strategy. Let's talk about the strategy I would recommend, though. And this is a pay-as-you-go, learn-as-you-go, find out what actually works. And you can actually start doing this for free. And everything you do will build on itself a little bit. So what are the free options you can start with? Well, let's start with your family and friends. But wait, didn't I just say don't market to your family and friends? No, I said do not hand sell your books to your friends. That is a completely different thing. This way, you are saying, hey, friends, buy my book. Go online, go on Amazon, go on Barnes & Noble, go on wherever they buy their books. Buy the books, maybe leave reviews, and the algorithms are going to notice that somebody is buying your book. And that is how they start keeping track of you as an author. So see how that can kind of build a little momentum, and that's free. The next avenue that I would try, which is also for free, is Goodreads. So don't go on Goodreads and figure that you're going to join all the groups and just say, hey, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. None of them want to hear that. And If you don't know what Goodreads is, it's kind of like the Facebook of book readers. Maybe people don't actually know the people they're following or in groups with, but they have similar interests in books. It's just a social media network for people who really love to read. Now, on Goodreads, they have one area that you probably should focus on, and this is their giveaway section. Most of the books that are going to be given away here are ebooks, though I think you can still do print books there. I'd have to check. Um, but giving away a copy of an ebook is free for you to do. What happens is people enter a raffle to get however many copies of your book that you're selling, and then they hopefully win your book. And if they win, they are obligated to leave a review. Good for you. Unless your book sucks, then it's bad for you. But even if they don't win this raffle, guess what? They are going to probably, well, not all the time, but that can go into a wish list for them, and they might find it a month later and say, oh, hey, I remember that book. I was interested in that. And maybe they'll actually buy it from you. So Goodread giveaways are very helpful and they're free, unless, of course, you give away a print copy. And if you do that, be careful about electing to give them away internationally. I did that once and ended up having to send a whole bunch of copies off to like Norway and Africa and ended up spending so much money in shipping that it was just a nightmare. So just keep that in mind. But totally do Goodreads. And the next avenue is where we start spending a little bit of money, and this is to find book bloggers. So there are people who read books and blog about them, and they have followings because maybe some people really like their taste in books. So find a book blogger that is in your genre. If they don't have a huge following, they might just ask for a free book and then they'll read it and review it. If they've got a really big following, they might charge you maybe say $200 to read your book. You'll still need to send them a copy. But yeah, they'll review it. However, if your mom is the only one who might love your book, don't send it to a book blogger because they're going to give their honest review, and that could probably hurt you more than help you. You ever feel like when you hop online that marketing has got a little bit out of control? It seems like the internet knows everything you want. They know everything about you. You might even just think about buying something and suddenly you start seeing ads pop up about that thing. So that can be a little creepy for some people, but for you right now, this is a good thing because you can leverage all that information to help sell your book. You can go on Google, you can go on Facebook, you can go on Goodreads, and you can find groups of people that you can send your advertisements out to. You can limit it by age, demographic, interests. You can say, well, they liked this book, so push my book if they were looking for that book. And it will send advertisements for that too. So you can really dial down your audience and you can put in specific keywords and you can pay for impressions, pay for clicks. And as long as your spend rate is less than that 87-cent budget that we had per every book sold, then you are doing great. And let's just say, for example, that you are going along and you find one avenue that maybe costs 80 cents for each book sold, and then you find another one that costs 10 cents per each book sold. You could really leverage into that 10-cent marketing avenue and sell more books for cheaper. So that's one of the reasons why I really like this advertising strategy is you pick a small marketing campaign, maybe do it for a week, keep track of it on a spreadsheet, and eventually you will have a good idea of what is helping sell your book, and hopefully at the best price. If you get a bunch of books sold and you develop a bit of a surplus in your marketing budget, then there's other options too. You might want to hire a publicist. You might want to try to get on a radio commercial. You might, if the publicist might try to get you some book signings, maybe get you on some national television show. There's also billboards. I mean, lots of people drive by billboards. They can cost quite a bit, but it really depends. If you start going that route, though, be prepared to spend somewhere between $2,000 and $10,000 for any of those avenues. I know that for radio, you can probably start a campaign that starts at $2,000, but you can easily jump up to $10,000 for that spend if you're not careful. Same thing with billboards. If you get a static billboard, you might be at $4,000 to $8,000 per month, depending on its location, but they might also lock you in for a 3-month contract. They might give you digital billboards, which might cost less, $2,000 to $4,000, but then you're cycling through with other people and you might get missed. And another thing about billboards is people are driving by really fast. Unless you're really good at making a billboard ad, you might want to think twice about that. But yeah, there's lots of options that end up getting more expensive, but start small, keep track of what you're doing, how much you're spending, and how much sales you're getting off of those spends. One other note before we finish up, there could be a big disconnect between the marketing you're doing now and the actual sales you're getting. So, for instance, say you did some kind of a marketing campaign last month. Maybe you had a book blogger post a bunch of stuff on your book, and then now you are doing some Facebook ads, and you're starting to get sales. You might think that those sales are coming from your Facebook ad when really they're coming from that blogger or some other reason or some other avenue. Someone was once famous for saying, I know that 50% of my marketing is effective. I just don't know which 50. As you go along, try to keep track the best you can, but just know that there might be a slight variance in what is actually selling your books and what isn't. And you're probably not going to know for sure until you just keep on doing a couple of these kinds of campaigns and you start to get a feel for what is and isn't working. And once you get that feel, then you can go for that second option that I told you about for marketing. You can set a target goal and then do a big, huge campaign right up front. But in the beginning, let's try to bootstrap this a little bit, learn what works for you. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and if you want to help support me as a writer also, please visit my website at www.lightmindedarts.com and check out my most recent book that I've published. As of this time, that one is One for the Money, Two for the Soul. Hope you enjoy. See you next time.